Welcome everybody to the InPower Coffee Break. Today we're going to be talking about issues related to parenting and motherhood and working and all the issues that swirl around when we're trying to juggle so many balls. On our coffee breaks, we talk about a variety of issues all the way from workplace issues, how to build a pro-employee workplace, how to lead a pro-employee workplace, how to survive and thrive in the workplace if you're not in charge and if you are. We cover a lot of issues that come up from our community, so we encourage people always to come in and comment on things and show us what you're interested in. Today we have Liz McGrory, who's one of our regulars and really focuses on, Liz, I'm going to let you take this away, but what I love about the work you do is you're coaching working moms to be the best moms and the best workers, to achieve success in their career at the same time. And so many people think of those as either ors, and I love your approach of both hands. And we have Mary Brody, who's running things for us today. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary to introduce Liz, but I just want to let folks know we do have some people watching, that we have an open seat today. We encourage you, after we get the conversation going, we'll introduce the opportunity for you to jump in either in the chat or in the other video seat, and come on in and share your experience, ask your questions, and be a part of the call. So Mary, you want to introduce Liz?
Sure. So Liz McGrory guides working moms to be an audacious boss of their mommy energy through private virtual coaching sessions and through her writing. She writes on about.com as their working mom expert, in her mommy energy blog and e-zine, and in her book, Igniting Mommy Energy. And she is not a stranger to our coffee breaks. She has been on previously. And if you want to learn more about what she does, you can always go to the InPower Coaching site and look up her past blogs, or go to her past coffee break sessions, which were that was a fun conversation. So.
And I just want to remind everybody that you can always get back to all the former recordings at coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com. And there you can see Liz's other posts and former recordings. So Liz, I love this topic of the fears that we carry as working parents, working moms. Now this month or last month, we've been sort of focusing on not just fear, but anxiety and all of the negative things that come up and get in our way of doing the things that we want to do with our life. There's so many anxieties we all carry with us. And I kind of loved your lens in your post about the mom lens on anxiety, because it wraps so much around our kids and what's right for our kids, and doing so much for our kids, we forget to do things for ourselves. And then we do things for ourselves, and then we're worried we're, somehow not doing it right by our kids. And I just wondered when you think about fear or anxiety through the motherhood lens, what do you think is the biggest thing getting in our way as moms?
I think that perfection and knowing what everyone else is doing. One of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor. But when you know what all of your neighbors are doing with their kids, with their career, you can't help but start to feel anxious. Like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Am I a bad mommy? Am I a good mommy? There's even a movie out now about bad moms. But in reality, I haven't seen it yet. I want to. But in reality, we all have our bad mom moments, and nobody is perfect, but yet we can't help worrying that we could just be a little bit more at something.
So let's dig into this perfection thing, because several things come to my mind. First of all, my first response was, yes, that rings true to me, as a working mom. But where do you think that standard of perfection really comes from? I mean, we all kind of arrive at motherhood feeling it, but where did it come from? Because of course we're passing anything we're feeling on to our kids. So we have to think, do we want to pass on this idea of perfection to our kids? Where do you think it started?
I think you just want the best for your children. And a little bit of you thinks that you could just be doing that one more thing or two more things. And what happens is that keeps you up later. So you're not getting as much sleep as you need. And when you become a mother, because you are responsible for this itsy bitsy little thing, it's a baby, but it's completely foreign to you. You give your all to it. And it's hard to rein that back and not give everything, your all, as your children begin to grow. And then when you come back from maternity leave, the world went on around you. What? No one else took 3 months off while you were taking 3 months off? And now you're trying to play catch up and you're trying to prove yourself. So that's another thing about perfection. First, you're in this new role that you're trying to figure out. And now you're trying to prove yourself because in essence, you're a new person.
That's an interesting idea.
Again, it's putting that extra. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, it's putting in that extra effort. Like you always feel like you could just do a little bit more. And you forget that you only have so much energy. And there's only so much that you can do. And what I write about in this article is about coming back to where you are now. Do you want to get into this now, or did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, but you know what? I don't want to lose that idea you just came up with, because I think it's like mind blowing. Which is when you become a mom, you become a different person, and your identity is trying to catch up with your reality, right? Which is it's not unlike, when you enter the workforce or when you enter college, or there are all these life, or when you get married, or when you get divorced. there's all these life stages where we change our identity. And sometimes I think becoming moms is not an identity shift we're conscious of, particularly then, okay, now we have to be a mom in the workplace. I never really thought of it that way, but that's so huge. And I think you're right. We assume a lot about what it would mean to be successful as a working mom, and we don't stop and question it. We just build it right into our identity and run. And maybe we should be more thoughtful about that.
Yes, bringing it back to now that you are a working mom, what are your values? What are your priorities? Don't run yourself ragged trying to keep up with your neighbors or trying to get on that next step on the ladder. Bring it back to who you are and who you care about, or what you care about, and start from there instead of that perfection comparison game with others.
Well, going to your post, one of my favorite parts, I liked all of it, was this idea of be still. Because it's like the opposite of what our life feels like is asking of us, right? But being still is where you get a chance to kind of briefly kind of see what your life is becoming, what this new identity is becoming for you, and make choices about it. And you notice it so that you can make choices about it. At least that was my interpretation. Is that what you meant?
Yes, because you do have the choice. You have the choice to feel mommy guilt. You're going to feel it. It's inevitable, but you can choose how long you'll feel it. You can choose to decide, why am I working? We feel that we give so much and that we give ourselves up to take care of our children, to prove our track record at our career, that we don't take into consideration that there's still a bunch of choices that we get to make, and that is empowering. So over the summer, when you're on vacation and you do sit still, it's great to sit back and think of the choices that are at your disposal that you have control over and feel empowered from that. You don't have to make up your mind. You don't have to choose A or B, but just be like, I have a choice. I do have a choice. Light dawns on Marblehead, and you feel like $1 million. You feel free.
So, let's talk about this, because this plays into something Mary and I were talking about yesterday, that you're absolutely right. That that moment when you understand your choice, I remember one of the most scary moments of my life, I quit my job and I was going to contract and I was going to be home with my kids more. That was part of my goal. And I realized I could do anything I wanted. And I found that thought terrifying. And I got over the terrified part. But I remember really being kind of stuck there. And it occurs to me that before you feel free to make those choices, you kind of have to confront the fear of, there's all kinds of different fears, doing things differently, making choices that will somehow not benefit people. And Mary and I were talking about yesterday how some people really get stuck right there. Like they're just caught in their fears and find it less anxiety producing to do nothing differently. And then we get connected to our complaints, right? Our excuses and our rationale become the choices we're making. And I know from the standpoint of being a mom, you are worried that whatever you choose is gonna disadvantage your kid forever. And there's all this, everything's riding on it and I can't choose. So I'm just going to choose not to choose. And in fact, that's what we're teaching our kids, right? That's what gets me through the fear. I remember what I'm doing is what I'm teaching my children how to do. And I don't want to teach them to live in fear. So I have to figure a way to get through it. But that's my experience of it. What's your experience of that place where we get caught by the fears and have the choice to move beyond them or just stay with them?
Is that to me or to Mary? Mary, you go first.
Oh, that's interesting because I don't have a kid, so it's a little. But where I get stuck in my fears.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Spot.
No, because I know I work through it a lot, especially, when you're working for yourself, there's always fear and looming. And I have to kind of go through what would be the worst that would happen and what is life in the present and focus on the present and get out of this whole, because we always tend to go future, right? And I have to remind myself, I come up with funny things future, tomorrow, everything could just change, the world could just suddenly, I can't plan on it. So just do what I can today and try to let it go. And that gets me to I call it my lemming perspective of I just kind of go like a lemming and jump off the cliff. And I hope to God it's going to be okay.
You're still here.
Exactly. There's been some interesting moments, but because that perspective doesn't always work. But it does go, I do have to try to focus in the present and try not to dream and imagine too much in the future, unless it's about this is what I want. And then I stop and I have to stop myself from how do I get there? No. Just stop. Just, you want that. We will figure this out. Don't stress on it because it might not work that way.
Yeah. I think that worrying is an absolute waste of your imagination. Yeah. So if you are trying to be creative and worrying comes in, there it goes. You're stuck. Your imagination is cut off. You're worried about that what if, or maybe you're in the past where you just need to be, like Mary said, you just need to be here right now. What can you do right now? And then you can breathe and the imagination comes back and the creativity flows. I mean, this sounds so much easier said than done. For instance, I have this opportunity this afternoon that I am scared out of my wits. So talking about this right now is actually really, really helping me. It's at 4:00 and I am terrified, but I have to keep telling myself I am who I am. I have done what I've done. If they are going and they like me and they want to talk to me, and so let's do it. And that's it. If I start thinking, well, what if they do this? What if they ask that? What if they offer this? You can't go into fear. You can't go into fear like that. You almost just have to accept the fear. Be like, yeah, this is great. The fact that I'm afraid of it means I really, really want it. Really want it. So I'm just going to go. I'm going to talk. I'm going to be me. And that is all I can do. And then just leave it up to the universe to deliver whatever it is supposed to come. But it's also having faith that you have worked so hard. so I guess this kind of fear that I'm talking about right now is like a big fear that's holding you back, not just like, oh, my kid's going to be okay at school. Like these big fears that block you. You have to have faith that whatever it is that you've been working on is enough, and that people always say that. That's like a tagline. I want something else that's more creative. Just have faith that you are you. Like that is just like, it's so important. It's so mundane and so little, but you have this destiny and it is going to happen, and good things happen to good people. And as long as you have put in the effort, as long as you have done your best, then you're golden. Then you've got it. You've done the work. Have you been sitting on your tuchus doing nothing? No. Are you out there working for a living to provide for your family? Yes. Are your children well fed? Do they smile? Are they happy? Great. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, you brought up two things I think are really important. First of all, I wrote this down because I just thought it was so brilliant. Worry is a waste of your imagination. That is brilliant. I think we should do a whole something on that.
Someone had to admit that. I heard it from somewhere.
Yeah, we'll credit you. I've never heard it before. But you brought up two things that I think are really critical, which are so important to be conscious of. First of all, one is attachment, attachment to the outcomes, because the things we want really badly, we tend to hem ourselves into and say, well, that's, if I don't get that, I have failed, when in fact, success and failure are more complicated than that. And the other thing, and we don't give ourselves the gift of the dimension of time, because, a failure today at 4:00 might lead to a success in a year or in a week or, whatever. And we are time bound beings. So we might as well take the advantages of that too, and look at success as a journey. Right. And the other is, this idea of, so attachment is one, and then this idea of trust. You use the word faith, and I think people get kind of weird about this, but however you come to this idea of being able to, I call it trust the process, and it goes back to trusting the time dimension, right? That as you do the work, as you stay committed to what's important to you, as you learn from failures, over time, you do build a successful life if you allow yourself to see the successes. And so many of the times we get stuck in the moment and we see only the failure in the moment. We don't see the success over time. And the moment is important for all the reasons Mary mentioned. But, we really have to exist in the moment and over time. And when we trust that process, then we can see every moment, the up or the down, as part of that journey. But that takes work, to get our antenna up there, both for ourselves and for what we're creating. Something I wanted to say, Mary, about what you said. You don't have kids, but you're building a business. I don't know how many, I used to write blog posts about this, about not that my business is like my kids, because it's not, but I am the creator in both. I am the creator and the nurturer. So you create something, but then you don't own either one fully. Your business only succeeds if other people contribute, whether it's your customers or partners or whatever. Same thing with your kids. You kind of create them, but then they're off becoming their own little people. And in both cases, we become the nurturers and the caretakers. And there's a lot of similarity. And I see women getting stuck on the perfection problem in both. And it can undermine us, or it can, challenge us to be our best. It's the perspective that we take. So talk to us about your beach trip, Liz. So talk about the fun side of this. So being a working mom gives you some opportunities for fun. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So when you get that moment when the kids are off doing their thing. So my kids are a little older this year. Are you guys hearing an echo all of a sudden? Because I hear it. Do you hear it?
It's gone.
No?
It's gone
Okay,
now.
good.
I did hear it. I did hear it for 2 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, you did? I think it stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my kids are older. I had no diaper changing. Woo! Oh, awesome. And they were off playing by themselves. And my husband turns into a kid when we go to the beach, and he's out there and he's tackling the waves. And I was just sitting there and I was like, wow, I got nothing to do right now. And I didn't even bring a book, so I didn't think I was going to have time to sit and read. And worrisome thoughts came to my head. I'm like, well, that's not cool. Like, I'm on vacation. I don't want to be negative right now. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm on Cape Cod. Let's just enjoy the moment. So I decided to just get up and go be with my kids. I mean, that's the reason, one of the reasons why you take a vacation. And I just started digging. I'm like, all right, this isn't exactly relaxing, but my tuchus is in a beach chair and I have water by my side and I'm doing a little bit of exercise and the kids are laughing. They say the funniest thing, so I'm laughing with them. And that felt good. So becoming a kid again is one way to stop those flyaway worries that it's just not, it's uncalled for on vacation, if I can sound motherly. It's not fair. So that's one thing I did. The other thing I did was I finished reading Arianna Huffington's The Sleep Revolution book right before vacation. And I got two things out of it. One was a new breathing technique that I thoroughly enjoy, especially right before bed. So when you're on vacation, you're like, go, 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 pack for this, unpack for that, you know, make sure everybody's okay. So when it's time to finally lay down and go to bed, it's sometimes hard to stop the worrying thoughts from popping up. So what I learned from Arianna's book was that this is the breathing technique. You hold your breath, breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath. And so you're not taking a deep breath. So you're just breathing in for a count of 4, holding it for a count of 7, and then exhaling out for a count of 8, but like this, like just letting it out. My husband was like, what are you doing? I was like, go to bed, go to bed. I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm just working my magic. And so it caused me to yawn a few times, which was great. And I don't know what happens after that. I fall asleep. So that's my one takeaway from that book. And the second thing I did on vacation from that book was, I wrote about it in your article. What is, the dream incubator. So I have a lot of questions in my mind and a lot of things that I'm worrying about, just like everyone else. So before you go to bed, you sort of ask your subconscious, like, what's my purpose in life? Or something along those lines, like something that you just can't figure out. And you write down that question on a piece of paper or your journal, because it's really helpful to keep a journal. And then while you're going to sleep, you're focusing on that question. And you also ask your subconscious, can you keep it simple because your conscious mind just can't handle the complexity of the subconscious? And then sometimes you get an inkling of through your dream of an answer to the question you had. If not, you try it again the following night. So you wake up the next morning, keep as still as you can. It's really hard to do with 3 kids, but sometimes I'm successful. And you just slowly move over to the piece of paper and you write it down. And if you forget something, lie back down again and keep still unless the dog jumps on your bed and forget it, you've lost it. And then usually the dream comes back to you. You can write down a little bit more, and it's a practice. So I don't do it every night, but I am contemplating a lot about life. Like we all are. And we're not meant to get this master understanding of everything, but just those little glimpses helps you breathe a little better and calms the anxiety and the worrisome thoughts. So those are the 2 great takeaways I got from that book.
That's great. And it reminds me, I've done the nighttime thing. Sometimes I find even more success. Just like I have a thought, I'm driving. Usually when I drive is when I have my big ideas, including the big worries. And when I come up with one of those big questions that I'm just not able to or ready to deal with, I call it throwing it in the back of my brain. It's like just, like in the back seat of your car. Like I just throw it back there and I say, brain, keep working on this. I have to go to the dentist. I have to do this. I have to do all this stuff. Brain, keep working on it and knock on my door when you're ready with some thoughts. And sometimes they come in dreams. And sometimes they come on my drive back from the dentist, or later. So I think that's really valuable to just, try to, it's not like you're saying, I'm pushing that away. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. You're just saying, I'm going to deal with it when I have more information. So brain, subconscious, universe, whoever's back there, please bring me more information. Then I'll deal with this. And sometimes it is easier said than done, particularly at night when you're can't sleep because of the worries. And that's an issue. And one thing, we're just about out of time. And one thing I do want to bring up is the fact that, everybody worries, everybody has fears. I agree. I think you know, moms, I don't want to say we have more fears than everybody else, but the responsibility to be taking care of a family and children is really important. And so I think that it's not uncommon, whether it's through perfection or just the sheer responsibility and desire to do right by your kids and your family and your work and everything else, to feel like you're carrying really weighty things. All the things we've talked about are great ways to manage it, but sometimes we have, particularly when it comes to fears and anxieties and anger and resentments around some of this, we have triggers that are just lying there waiting to go off. And those triggers are not productive. Many things we've talked about are productive ways to manage normal concerns and fears. Triggers kind of take us out of the productive zone. So that's why here at InPower Coaching, we are really, we're always talking about how when you learn to de-trigger, you're able to kind of get back to the productive use of your brain and your emotions and your choices and all that sort of thing. So Mary just put up a link to some of our tools about de-triggering, and we really encourage people to use it because it gets us out of the zone where we really can't handle things, back into feeling productive, feeling like we're managing these things, which are challenging, but productively so. So Liz, any last minute just closing thoughts for working moms on how to take advantage of what's left of our summer vacation?
Yeah, I have a question for Liz too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about moms, and like you were talking about the perfectionism. How about the competition? Because I was talking with one mom friend of mine, and she was telling me, like, what's really hard is, like, she'll take her kid to the park, and then you start hearing that it gets competitive, and it becomes a pressure. Like, you're doing this, and they have this, like, other moms might have a judgy view of you. Like, you're not doing this. How can you not do this? Like, how to deal with that fear, or is that a whole show?
It might be a show. Maybe those particular women enjoy getting everybody riled up and because they have nothing better to do with their time. I think that's where emotional intelligence comes in. Emotional intelligence, if I could say it. So when you are emotionally intelligent, the second part of that is being able to read the emotions that are happening in other people. So maybe you feel like, she's getting you aggravated, like, and you're like, hey, wait, what's going on? I was happy 2 seconds ago playing with my kids. And then, hey, wait a second, she said something and it made me feel like not right. And then part of the emotional intelligence is saying, okay, so what could she be about? Like, what is it that could have happened in her life? Like, maybe she feels bitter. And you don't have to have the answer of why she's feeling the way she's feeling, but just recognizing that this isn't coming just because she's being spiteful or that she's being competitive. There is something that she's feeling that she's taking either out on you or just showing the world. Maybe she took time off to be with her kids and she thought it was going to be one way, but it's another. And she's frustrated. Or maybe her husband has changed something. Like, you just don't know where that other person is coming from. So my piece of advice is to just consider what their perspective could be, and then just to leave it at that and be emotionally intelligent enough not to let yourself get riled up in that. And then take a breath, because when you take that breath, it gives you space between whatever's going on in the world around you. It brings you back and grounds you. And like I tell my children, just because you're invited to a fight, it doesn't mean you have to attend it.
True.
I think that's excellent advice. I would just add, you might need to de-trigger if you can't get yourself to that place of understanding where the other person might have some issues. And another one, this is just, it's funny you asked that question. I'm like, what did I used to do when my kids were on the playground? And honestly, once my kid was sitting with me, and it was something like, well, aren't you going to go to the highbrow gymnastics camp, And I turned to my kid, I said, what do you want to do with camp? And he's like, I want to go play with, they had like a Knights of the Round Table camp. That's what he wanted to do, right? I want to go to the Knights of the Round Table camp. And I turned to the other mother and I said, I believe that what my child is motivated to do is what he's going to get the most out of. And the reason I bring that up was because the moment I said, I believe, I felt that grounding. You know, I'm like, I don't care what the competitive ramifications of this is. When I remember what I believe, that's when I ground to the choices that I make. And in that particular moment, I was doing it as much for my kid as anything else. Like I wanted him to know what I believed about this situation. And then after that, the competition stuff never bothered me because I just said, I go, well, what do I believe, you know, is important here? And I just act based on that. And it's very grounding. I love that use of that word, Liz, you know, because in those moments where we're in a potentially competitive situation, we need to ground ourselves, you know, in what's important to us. That's how we have perspective. Otherwise we get caught up in the competition of it. And that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Great question.
Maybe we should do a whole show on that. All right. Well, thanks. We've just blown through a half an hour here talking about an important and interesting subject. And Liz, I want to thank you both for your post, which was very thoughtful and thought-provoking as always, and for your presence here. You look relaxed and ready for your 4 o'clock. Good luck on that. You're gonna
It'll be fabulous. I can't wait. I really can't wait. And thank you.
I'm sure you stay connected to the excitement and you'll do fine, right?
What was that? Blab, blab, blab.
Stay connected to the excitement and it'll be easier to do great. Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck, Liz. I hope it goes awesome.
Yeah. And we'll see you everybody next Tuesday. Remember to go to coffeebreak.InPowerCoaching.com to see this show and others in recording and to see what's coming up in the weeks ahead and to sign up for reminders so you can get an email an hour before. And if you have time to join us, we'd love to have you pop on the call. So thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.